My name is Reverend David Kraemer, minister here at this church. Thank you so much for coming today. Helping with today's service are Maria Hinners and Alex Chilsen, our musician, and Aaron Hurwitz, our tech. A couple of things to lift up before we begin. So first off, our Christmas Clearing Council has been delivered, true, or is about to be delivered. So we have two families who, with eight children, and each family will receive, in addition to all of the gifts that you offered, gift cards in the amount of, I think, between $280 and $295. So thank you all for your generosity. This is a great effort once again this year. Next week, on Sunday, we will be celebrating solstice at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There will be no morning service. So this is not a mistake in your Tuesday announcements or in the bulletin or any other place. And so please note, we will be here at church at 4 o'clock next Sunday afternoon. Note on COVID. So now that I am back in the pulpit, I don't have the same sensitivities that Reverend Jim had, so we are masks optional again. However, I would say that right now, as we head into the winter season, things are getting worse. Council of Churches tells us that nationwide, things are really bad. Here in Wisconsin, maybe not so much, but it still means it could be coming. Much of this is driven by low rates for flu and for COVID, and so the best thing that you can do is to get yourself vaccinated now. Also, one of the metrics that is used for predicting COVID waves is the amount of virus that shows up in wastewater. You might not know this, but we have our own wastewater virus expert right here in this congregation. Rick Blond does this testing for the city of Brookfield, right? And Rick can attest. Right now, the amounts of virus in wastewater are high, and I believe trending up. True, Rick? So please be careful and be cautious. Mask. Do not come if you are not feeling well. Maintain distance. Wash your hands. Also, another thing you may not know, but our anti-racism change team has been working on a land acknowledgement for some time now, and is still wordsmithing and thinking about the ideas that it wants to express. In the meantime, I want to tell you that from Indian Country Today, which is an online indigenous news publication that I subscribe to, more than 85 indigenous candidates won election on November 8th to political offices up and down the ballot in 22 states, adding indigenous representation to Congress, state houses, courtrooms, and local governments across a wide swath of the nation. 12 indigenous candidates ran for Congress, and 5 will take their seats in our nation's capital next year. Goes around, comes around. Today we are going to continue our theme of wonder, and I will be expanding a little bit on a story that I shared on Wednesday when I talked about my sabbatical in Spain. So some of you may know a little bit of the detail, but we will go further into this and dive into perhaps some meaning from that episode. Now please center yourselves for worship as Maria calls us in.
Okay. So I was thinking about the experience and the miracle, the disaster that we had after the tornado hit Eagle, and the fact that our family survived. At the time, it was really hard to believe that it was a miracle, and I still didn't think it was a miracle until I just thought about it, because we were very much in shock and unsure how we should react. I had to remember that I was an adult, even though I didn't want to be, and my kids, even though they were teenagers, would be affected by everything that was happening. But like putting my oxygen mask on first, my priority was to move in the right direction and try to react immediately, but not to overreact to our loss. The next 6 months were a journey with unexpected decisions that faced us every day and rarely let us to even relax and think. Where would we sleep that night? Where would we get food from? What the heck do we do now? I felt as though we were on a huge water slide. Not being able to swim, I really don't like water slides, and they're very terrifying to me. But we had to slide down, not knowing where we were going, what was coming next, and I had to keep my head above the water. Sometimes I felt as though I couldn't even breathe and was exhausted from the stress. David and I had to hit the turns and twists first, and we had to learn to bend to reduce the shock, especially for our kids. I knew at some point it would end, but we worked to reduce the trauma and tried to emphasize the opportunities for new experiences for our family. The boys got to switch bedrooms, they picked out paint colors and new light fixtures as they put up drywall, and all our original fun summer plans changed, while we dealt with the pain and frustration of making our home livable again. Our goal was to get back in our house as soon as possible and try to regain any sense of normalcy and get off that crazy ride. Ultimately, the uncertainties slowed down, they stopped, and we could breathe again. As one of our kids said, "Now I can check that off my bucket list." We were definitely not affected as some, but we can say that we did live through a tornado. We were extremely tired, but we lived, even though we were changed forever.
Thank you, Maria. Now please join with me as we light our chalice. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Also, it is the tradition in this church to light a candle for Advent. We are now on the third candle. The first Sunday was the candle of hope. The second, the candle of peace. The third today is the candle of joy. And now please take a few moments to greet one another. Twice in a day I get to use that. That's great. That's really great. We have special music this morning from Meg Whaley and Emma Keppel.
what child is this the world awaits with quiet expectation? When will he come, the promised one, to bring us peace and salvation? Raise your prayers on high, prepare his way. The time is nigh. Come, Emmanuel, the child of love and peace. The air grows colder, the light grows dim with darkening sky above us. But soon the chill of the winter wind will warm with God's gift of love. As the star will rise into the sky, and songs of joy will echo in heaven high. Lord, the is here, the child of love, and peace will
Lovely, thank you. So I have a story. Our story today, building on Maria's experience with the tornado and my own, Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on my skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window, too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said if I don't get a seat by the window, I am going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was, because after school, Mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. "Come back next week and I'll fix it," said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said, "I'm going to Australia." On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot, and while we were waiting for my mom to get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy, and then I started crying because of the mud, and Nick said I was a crybaby, and while I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with a car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I told everybody. No one even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes, but then the shoe man said, "We're all sold out." They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with the copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as I could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom said some days are like that, even in Australia. That's my story. Let's sing the children out. We have a song that we have not sung in a little while now. Go lift it up. Got this? 10:26, perhaps? No, 10:57. We'll play it through once. This is a good practice session. Go lift it up, love lights your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day. Should we try that one again sometime? Is that okay? Okay, that's great. And now please join me in a spirit of quiet meditation, reflection, prayer. As the holidays come upon us, we are looking forward to celebration, to family, to being together, to warm candlelight and even warmer hearts. And we also know that this season can be a troubling time for some of us as well, as the light diminishes and the busyness overcomes us. Words from Reverend Joan Javier Duval. Spirit of life, mother of all, mystery beyond our understanding. Here we are, living, breathing creatures with minds that wonder and hearts that feel awe. We face questions that we know can't be answered and tragedies that we know can't be explained. May we find patience in all that is unanswered and peace in all that will never be explained. Here we are, living, breathing creatures with open minds and tender hearts. May we hold ourselves with gentleness with all that brings us worry and all that makes our hearts break. May the living, breathing creatures that we are feel the breath of life moving within us and through all things, bringing us into greater union with the mysterious universe of which we are a part. Blessed be. Amen. It is our practice in this church to share milestones in our individual lives, joys and sorrows. If you have something on your heart that you wish to share with us, please come forward. Tell us your name, what's on your mind. Take a stone from the bowl, hold it in your hand, and when you are finished, place it in the bowl with the water to let the ripples carry your concerns out to the wider community.
Walking with you is our prayer.
Keep going.
As we take our offering today. On the sixth day of Jalaka, we celebrate the UU principle of world community, peace, liberty, and justice. We are grateful for the opportunity to join together to support justice, peace, and our community goals. When You Are Waiting for Your Miracle by Megan Minatello. When you are waiting for your miracle, time can feel as if it's never ending, slow and steady, like maple syrup falling from the bottle. It's as if the minutes, hours, and days stretch and blend into one, making you forget the date or the day of the week. It's as if you cannot conjure a picture of tomorrow nor a memory of yesterday, as if you cannot hear the joke that someone told you just moments ago. When you're waiting for your miracle, it's as if you're looking through the glass that keeps the fish in their tanks at aquariums, as if the whole world is blurry, as if you cannot make out one face from the next. And yet, there are tiny miracles that happen in the waiting, little moments of joy and tender acts of kindness and celebrations to be had, no matter how small they seem. When you are waiting for your miracle, time can feel as if it's never ending. But I hope you remember that miracles are happening all around you, even as you wait.
I love that image of the maple syrup. I am freaking out. I had just finished breakfast, a roll, a piece of fruit, some yogurt, I think, from the grocery just down the block, which had been redolent the day before with fresh fish and produce, whole hams, fresh bread. Here in Spain and Portugal, I found over and over what a corner market should be. I had used the toilet, looked around me to make sure I had put everything away, and just to be sure, checked the top pocket of my pack where I had zipped in my wallet a half hour ago. It was gone. No wallet, no nothing. My wallet had everything: 2 debit cards, 2 credit cards, my passport, my pilgrim passport, my blood type, my driver's license in case I needed 2 forms of ID somehow, my COVID immunization records, and about €70 in cash. This was to be my last day in Santiago. I had finished the Camino de Santiago the day before on a high point. I had washed my clothes, bought groceries, dined at a nice little hole-in-the-wall, repacked everything for the 5-hour bus trip back to Porto, where I would fly out in 2 days for home. I am beginning to panic. I dug through the backside of the pocket. Earlier I had missed things there because it is so deep. No, everything out, nothing inside. This isn't happening, I think, and I say that out loud. I tear open the whole pack, throw everything out onto the small couch in the kitchen of the albergue, even unpack my sleeping bag where my wallet had been with me all night, sleeping with me as recommended in the guidebooks. There is a man there. I tell him I have lost my wallet. I am really panicking now. I run downstairs to check my bunk, nothing there. Up into the bunk to see if anything is underneath. Back upstairs, through the pack again. This would happen 4 or 5 times over the next couple of hours out of desperation and then out of a lack of anything else to do. Maybe I thought I had just mislaid it. I tell myself to think. The last time I saw it, I was already upstairs. I had checked it to see if I had coins for the coffee machine, as I thought I did not. I felt some odd twinge as the money flashed. But then I stowed the wallet in the pack and leaned it up against the couch. The man in the kitchen notes the phone number for the albergue host, and he offers to help me call. There is a woman from Great Britain there. I try to call the number, get nothing. My head is a mess. I retrace all my steps. Did I leave it in the refrigerator, on top of the magazine stand, under the couch? All things over and over. Not wanting to think the worst, but the possibilities were narrowing. I go outside to see if it had been tossed out in a planter on the boulevard, up and down for about 2 blocks in each direction. Nothing. I call the local police. Call back tomorrow, they say. It's Sunday. I am expecting some kind of an investigation, an officer to show up at least, but no, this is just another tourist with a lost passport. Crisis for me, ho-hum for them. I call Mary, my wife. It is 4 a.m. at home. I tell her to cancel the credit cards, all of them. I email Fiona and Pam, friends I had met on the way. You will find your community on the Camino. They're it. Subject line, emergency. Just needed someone to talk to. Fiona responds, they're about a day out. The woman from Great Britain tries to outline what needs to happen next. She's very calm and supportive. File a police report. Contact the embassy. Get a new passport. We all note the security camera above the desk pointed right at where my pack was. Does it work, or is it just a dummy? Nobody knows. I am trying to think clearly. All plans are crumbling, including the flight home. After all the checking and the double checking, it is becoming clear that someone may have deliberately taken it. I don't care about the money, I kept saying over and over. I just need to get home. The woman from Great Britain sits next to me, places her hand on my shoulder. I can't even respond, sobbing silently. She hands me some money, so at least I have something. I decide to wait at the albergue for the albergue host to show up so I can let them know and ask about staying another night or more. I need to file a report with the national police. We figure out not the local police. The woman from Great Britain helps locate the office on the other side of the cathedral, a few kilometers away, and then she and others clear out, getting on with their days. Outside, there is something going on, a fun run or a race. The police have blocked off the boulevard and runners stream down the middle. The crowd is cheering as they run. About 10:30, the albergue host shows up. I tell her what has happened, ask if I can put my pack in a locker and then stay another night. She says yes. I head out for the National Police Station. The run is still on. The route to the police station is not a straight line in this old European town with narrow alleys between old stone buildings, but the cordoned streets send me off in even more tangents. It takes a long time. Finally, I arrive at a point near the cathedral I recognize from the day before, search out the police station. On the steps, there is an officer chatting amiably with two women who appear to be tourists. Their mood is light and casual, total disconnect. The office is all but empty. At the desk, I say I need to report a stolen wallet with my passport and credit cards, and immediately I feel bad about labeling this as stolen when in fact I still don't know. But the officer asks my name. I tell him. He asks again, disappears into another office, and when the door opens, another officer is there with my wallet. Cannot begin to describe this feeling. Not joy, not elation, not anything on the happy spectrum at all. More like emptying out, breathless, as dumbstruck as the moment when I discovered it was lost. I sat on a bench and emptied out the contents. Everything was there except for the cash and one debit card. I sign off on my reclaimed property, ask one of the officers, "How does this happen?" He just shrugs. In hindsight, my terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day turned out to be not anywhere as devastating as Maria's tornado. Maybe not even as bad as Alexander's day, as within a span of about 3 hours, all turned out okay, sort of. But the shock of it, the very real possibility that I could be stranded in Spain for days, a week, who knows how long, and how would I survive? I can't really describe that. Upon recovering my wallet, I called Mary and sent a message back to Pam and Fiona, who were gearing up for a rescue. I told them I could not have been more amazed at the sight of my wallet than had I seen the image of Christ on the side of a Holstein cow. I owe that image to author Michael Perry for his book, The Jesus Cow, but that's the idea. It was like this, miraculous. A moment that some people might say changed their lives. You can find stories like this in the popular press all the time. A wedding ring lost for 40 years and then returned. A dog that crossed the country to get to its owners. In the span of about 3 hours, my wallet made it across Santiago to the place I was going and got. How does this happen? In the next couple of days, as I reported back to friends and family, my sister-in-law tells me that it was my dad looking down on me, making sure everything had turned out okay. Yeah, it could be that, actually. On Wednesday at the presentation on the Camino, I said that at least part of my motivation for the walk was to create an action remote. Dad, who's an old hiker himself. But then the other side of my brain started thinking about probabilities. The window of opportunity for the thief in the first place was very small. The pack was in the same room as I was the whole time. Someone must have seen me stash the cash and then put the wallet back in the pack, else how would they even know to look there? I have worked this part over and over in my head, and I can't figure it out yet. When and how did they take it? Then, for it to be turned in to the police on a Sunday with a big event going on and all within what seemed like forever, but actually was a pretty short length of time, what are the chances of that? The Jesus cow thing started to make some sense. What is a miracle anyway? In my largely materialist worldview, if you define miracle as the occurrence of something that isn't ordinarily possible, I would say that whatever happened wasn't really a miracle then, was it? Because if it happened, it obviously wasn't impossible. And so then if you think of a miracle as something that is extremely unlikely, but yet still happens, then what does the word miracle mean anyway? Theology pushes the limits of language. We really don't know what we are talking about. We said this last week in last week's sermon. So was it my dad? Was it angels? Was it some tangible form of luck? Was it evidence that I am not as bad a person as I think I am, that this is the universe coming back to me, goes around, comes around, karma, dharma, pudding, and pie? What I know is that some human stole my wallet. And some human turned it in to police. Might even be the same person, for all I know. A thief with a big heart heard me lamenting about getting home and took pity and kept the cash. So if you want to call this a miracle, I'm okay with that. But I don't believe that my wallet got to the police station by flying through the air. It got there because some human, took it there. I think what this is in its largest sense was a witness to the frailty and the resilience of human nature, both. Frailty for me, for sure, as I was suddenly reduced to a puddle of vulnerability, and resilience, sort of, as I slowly took steps toward resolution, but frailty for the thief as well, because what, if not weakness, is it that causes people to do bad things? Evolutionarily, I believe we are a cooperative species. That's what's allowed us to survive. Something was going on with this person that caused them to act in such a way as to harm me. It actually took some effort to do that. The easiest thing would have been to just let my wallet alone. But greed or need or mean-spiritedness or perhaps some other pathology caused them to act against whatever cooperative impulses they may have, whatever compassion. Sarah Foucault offered a beautiful reflection on this thing just a couple of weeks ago on the anniversary of the Christmas parade. Darrell Brooks, she said, who drove through the parade killing and maiming, was a broken individual. Seriously, seriously broken. But still a person. And in that sense, the same as all of us. This is my belief, my unreasonable faith, that in our frailty, in our brokenness, we are all still people. All of us, even Darrell Brooks, even whoever took my wallet. We're all tied in a single garment of destiny, says Martin Luther King, a single cell in a body of 4 million cells, the body of humankind, says Norman Cousins. And so frailty and resilience, these things belong to the body politic as well as to individuals. If you think of humans not as isolated individuals, but as part of a larger organism, moving in the same way that schools of fishes or murmurations of starlings do, you can see that the organism too is both frail and resilient, broken and healing. Over 3 hours in Santiago, there was a tear in the muscle of the body of humanity. And then it stretched, and it came back together again. What that left me with was a deeper faith in my core beliefs, which were seriously challenged in the moment. What is the point of miracles anyway but to deepen faith and to transform lives? What was stolen from me, apart from my wallet, was the idealized, warm feeling I had about the Camino that had been developing over the 2 weeks that I walked. What I was left with was disillusionment. But then this miracle happened, and my faith in humanity began to return. Someone I don't know saved me with unbidden grace. In this sense, this miracle was not an impossibility, not even an improbability. I am not saying, go ahead, lose your wallet, somebody will turn it in for you. But my belief is that the likelihood that the human organism will be resilient, will work to correct itself, to heal its own wounds, is at least as great as the likelihood that it will be frail, and perhaps more so. This happens to people all the time. Mary kept assuring me during the time my wallet was gone, we will figure it out. And Peter Mayer sings, everything's a miracle. I made it back to Porto that day, cold and hungry and completely broke. I had hastily stashed my pack in the compartment under the bus when the driver let me on with an expired ticket, left a sandwich and a sweater packed down in the compartment in my rush. All credit cards were now deactivated. The hike from the bus station to the hotel was really tense. The narrow cobbled streets that I had walked for weeks were not quaint and welcoming anymore. I hiked fast with purpose. My usual response when I'm feeling threatened, eyes forward and keep on moving. Even at the hotel, when the desk clerk came to the end of the check-in, they asked, will you be paying with cash or credit? I don't know, I said. We will have to figure it out tomorrow. Fortunately, they let me into a room. Mary was able to wire money the next day through Western Union. Who knew you were so lucky, Mary said when I called her to tell her I had my wallet back. And maybe that's all it was, luck. Or maybe a miracle. And maybe that's not so rare. Blessed be. Let's sing together. Hymn number 134. Our world is one world. Please rise in body or spirit.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes, with love or hate we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Please be seated. Following our postlude, if you are new, especially, please join us for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall down below. And wherever you go, go in love, seek justice, find peace.
The weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Oh, it doesn't show signs of stopping, and I bought me some corn for popping. Lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And we finally kiss goodnight. How I hate going out in the storm, but if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. Oh, the fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Going out in the storm, but if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. Oh, the fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow. Thank you.